Hey, Dr. Dave Marquis here with you, and I had another nutritional tip that I wanted to share. This one's in regards to weight. Now, every year, come January, most of us have some type of new resolve, newfound drive to take better care of ourselves. And for many people, it's to add a few pounds of muscle, and for most people, it's to lose a few pounds of fat. And that process can be overwhelming. And many people start to give up right around now, about 3 weeks into the process. They say it takes 21 days to make a habit, and it's also a time period where people will kill their habit, where they might not have succeeded in what they were ultimately striving for. So I wanted to share a few thoughts with you on some, I call it low-hanging fruit, things that people can take into consideration that is not going to be onerous in terms of time or cost. Now, first piece of low-hanging fruit, our bodies, most of our bodies, tend to be excessively inflamed. And inflammation is ubiquitous with all disease. Turns out obesity is actually an inflammatory condition of your adipocytes. They swell up, they get inflamed, which is why when people start to go on any type of weight loss program, they usually urinate like crazy for the first week, and they think that they're on this mad rush to losing weight, but in fact, their adipocytes shrunk and they lost a lot of water weight. Then the real work starts. And that's usually when people get frustrated because they lost those first 5 to 7 pounds and then they get stuck. Well, helping you to get beyond that takes a little bit more effort and understanding. So when you think about inflammation, I like people to think about what is it that they're exposing themselves to and doing on a daily basis that might be a low-hanging fruit for triggering inflammation. One of those happens to be the types of oils that we're exposing ourselves to. Now, I'm huge on taking fat, because fat is a wonderful fuel if it's good for you, if it's a clean fat. Things like olive oil, things like avocado oil, coconut oil. The area where people really get into trouble is where they're consuming linoleic acid type fats. These are seed oils. These are the grain oils. These are the types of fats that actually promote inflammation. Now, when I do blood chemistry testing on patients, I'm looking at their essential fatty acid breakdown. It's becoming almost more the rule, sadly, than the exception, to see people have extremely high arachidonic acid levels and extremely high linoleic acid levels because of overconsumption of nuts and seeds and grain oils. Now you say, okay, well, I don't eat that. Take a time to look at your diet and actually see how much corn oil, safflower oil, canola, also known as rapeseed oil, straight linseed oil, soybean oil. How are you getting exposed to these things on a daily basis? I bet you're going to find that some of the chips that you're consuming are cooked in that, or the chip itself being a grain, or you're consuming excess grains, or you're snacking on nuts and you've got them in your center divider on your car. These are all ways that we think that we're eating healthier, but we're actually producing inflammation. So that's the first piece of low-hanging fruit. Find your linoleic acid, find your pro-inflammatory fats and chuck them. Get them out of your diet. Number 2, understand insulin insensitivity. That actually feeds right back to number 1, because all of those pro-inflammatory fats beat the crud out of your insulin receptors. But you know what else does that? Nighttime Scooby snacks. Snacking on carbohydrates in the evening, or having too many carbohydrates with your evening meal. It's a diet killer. Because if you're allowing for your blood sugar and insulin to rise in the evening before you go to bed, the game's over. You're actually going to be struggling all night long to balance your insulin throughout your sleep cycle, but you're not actually running away from a lion, tiger, or bear, so you don't need that fuel. That's the time of day when you don't need the carbs. If you're going to do carbs, do it in the daytime when you're going to burn it around some type of physical activity. But in the evening, think healthy fats, an abundant supply of greens, and some type of clean protein. Focus on that. Give yourself about 3 to 4 hours before going to bed without any consumption of food. Make sure that you're always well hydrated, well mineralized, and active. Find some form of activity that you enjoy. And if you don't have an activity that you really enjoy, walk. Walking is fantastic. Walking for 45 minutes a day, wonderful activity. It moves every joint in the body. So just to recap there, the 2 tips that I gave you, first one, get rid of unhealthy fats, the pro-inflammatory fats in all forms. Nuts are a big one that people snack on too much. Now, I'm not anti-nut, I'm just anti-excess nuts. Number 2, make sure that you understand all the factors that are impacting your insulin resistance. Because if your body's turning into more of a pear shape, you know that you're living in insulin resistance and you're battling glucose and insulin and cortisol. Putting yourself to bed in a light state of ketosis is one of the best ways that you can actually mitigate that issue. Doesn't mean that you have to live in keto all day long. You don't have to live in paleo all day long. But you do need to time your food so that you're using your energy that you're consuming and not allowing it to simmer and keep you inflamed while you're going to bed. Apply those. Keep yourself really well hydrated. Stay optimistic and positive. And the more proactive you are in applying these principles, you're going to see some success and you'll actually start moving closer to your goals. Make sure that those goals are realistic. You know, about 1.5 pounds a week is a realistic goal. When somebody sheds 5 to 7 pounds in a week, that's not realistic weight loss. That's a lot of water weight that you've lost. Now, kudos on anybody that lost that much inflammation in a short period of time, but don't expect it to continue. We got to keep our goals realistic so that each week you have that sense of success and you can pat yourself on the back and say, yeah, I did it. I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do that again next week. And as you do that and you're exercising, you're going to start to convert much of that adipose, much of that fat to lean. And that's going to improve your wellness and your longevity. Have a great day.